Today on the Marvel Cinematic Universe podcast, we are discussing What If, episode 6 of season 1, What If Killmonger Rescued Tony Stark?
Welcome to the Marvel Cinematic Universe podcast. My name's Matthew Carroll.
And I'm Jeff Randall.
And in our third chair today, we have Scotty St. Clair. How you doing, Scotty?
Doing excellent. Thank you again for having me back.
Absolutely, brother. Thank you for coming back.
I've always got your back. Wait.
Have you back and have your back.
Yeah.
With or without the R.
We meant both of those things.
Well, let's get right into it because we are running behind tonight.
We got a thing to talk about.
We've got What If Killmonger Rescues Tony Stark. What do you guys think?
I simultaneously love and do not like this episode.
Right? I felt the same way.
I was really curious to get your take, Jeff, because to me, this one has the most echoes of episode 3, where we saw the Avengers meet their demise. And the reason I say that is because I felt like these episodes relished in the established MCU that we have the most, and just kind of got to play with these echoes that we've already seen and just put them in different contexts. So I'm really curious to hear you like dive into what exactly you liked and disliked. Okay,
so it's kind of like, and like no parent is ever going to admit to this, but it's kind of like when you know, your kid is
Except for this one.
awful. When your kid is awful and you're like, you think to yourself like, God, I just really don't like this kid right now. Like, I love them. I love them to death. I would jump like in front of bullet fire for them. But like, if I could punch them right in the mouth just real quick and get away with it, like, it's like that. Like this show is so good. The show is so great. It's such an awesome concept. The animation is amazing. And like this concept was so well done. I love that. Versus episode 3, like you mentioned, it felt like the beats that were plucked from the sacred timeline, our universe, the Prime Marvel universe, whatever.
Sure.
It feels like those they handled that a lot better in this one. It was less clumsy.
Okay.
And then
interesting.
By me saying I didn't like this episode, even though I love it, it's because they killed Tony Stark and Killmonger was a jerk, and like I don't want any of the things that happened in this episode to have happened, and it's bad.
Right.
Like it was personal, you know? Like,
yeah. Oh, for sure.
You killed my heroes. Like, we lost we basically lost T'Challa before he even got a chance to be there in this episode, like before we even saw him in the verse, and like they killed him.
Yeah, but the beauty of like him being the angel of death at the end for Killmonger in the afterlife.
Yeah. Oh my God, it was so glorious. Good. Yeah,
Definitely.
like, and those are the beats where I'm just like, man, that is like, oh, I love this show, I love this series. But then like, oh, the bad things happened, and I like it. It was like when we had Dylan Diggs on to do our What If episode.
Right,
sure.
And like, I hated all of it. Like, I don't like this idea. I didn't want this.
Like, good ideas, but man, yeah. You know what you're making me realize as I'm sitting here thinking about this episode is that like we've had a lot of stories be like, we're gonna tell the story from the villain's perspective, like whatever, Maleficent or whatever, all the things, and even now we have like Suicide Squad, the Suicide Squad, like those are movies that are supposed to be from the villain's perspective, the Joker, all these things.
Sure.
Yep.
But they're all, this guy's mistreated and hurt, and now we get to see him do the thing. I think that this episode is completely from Killmonger's perspective, and he is a villain, and with sort of less remorse than we saw even in Black Panther. Like, he is very much ready to take, like, when we discussed this episode, when we were going over the trailer reaction, like, months and months ago, I basically laid this plot out. I said, oh, man, if Killmonger gets a hold of Tony, he's gonna have the power of Tony Stark to take down Wakanda. And that's what happened. And I was like, this is exactly what I called. But seeing it on screen was so sad. Seeing like the actual Wakandans being played the way they were, like really, really played by Killmonger. Like they're standing on the battlefield fighting these robots, and we know full well he has a controller in his pocket that can turn them off, you know?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
It was so just angering to watch that happen. Like I felt it in my soul. I was like, I hate this guy. Stop. Don't do it. Don't stop playing it. And then when the episode ended, when we had Shuri meeting up with Pepper, I was like, why is it stopping? You can't just stop it there. Like, I need more. I need more of this story.
Okay, I gotta say how dumb I was during this part. Honestly, the entire thing, I was like, who's the short person?
Oh,
and then finally
Shuri's
I realized
so much
it was
younger.
Shuri. Yeah. And then I was like,
younger.
Interesting creative choice to make Shuri shorter. I don't remember her being short. Is she short? Like the whole time I was like, is she short? Like like she was standing next to Okoye, and I was like, I guess I can't remember. Is she much shorter than Okoye is? And then she's younger.
Yeah.
Like took me way too long to realize that.
She was in fact younger at the time. I love though that like in there were so many moments where like, you know, I knew what had happened in, you know, in the main verse, and like a story beat happens and I'm like, I'm expecting something. But the one that like really got me was when they were in the ship that where Claw was, and where T'Challa died, where T'Challa and Rhodey died. I remember like in that moment there was that whole like, you know, like we've been breached, and like, oh, here's the Avengers, they show up, and then, you know, then the big fight happens, and Claw said, he's like, we've been breached, like, anybody got eyes on it? I was like, well, no, Ultron's not around, Tony's not doing that thing. Like, I was running through the list, I'm like, Scarlet Witch? No, she was brought by Ultron, it wouldn't be Quicksilver. Like, I was running through it all, and I was like, no, wait, it's going to be Black Panther. And then like, he showed up on screen. Like, all of that happened so fast. And like, then he shows up. I'm like, like, I was so happy.
Yeah.
And then they killed him. And then they killed him like immediately.
Yeah. I was so excited in that moment. And then the fact that he died shocked me. I was like, Black Panther's coming to save the day, and he's going to stop this unholy partnership between Tony Stark.
Like,
and it just did not happen.
He's going to end this. He's our savior. Nope.
Yeah. I was legitimately scared for Rhodey in the moments preceding up to there. I thought Black Panther might take him out the way he was just taking out the rest of those soldiers so ruthlessly.
Yeah.
But as much as that scene echoed, you know, the scene in Age of Ultron that we got, like, that's what I was kind of talking about with this episode. I felt like not only did it have a lot of echoes of Iron Man, obviously we got like entire scenes lifted out of Iron Man, but it felt like Iron Man meets Black Panther. And like Owatu gave the perfect line in the beginning when he says like every journey has a beginning, but change one step along the way and you could end up at a very different destination, and that heroes are not born, they're forged in darkness. And then it just goes to show how Eric Killmonger's mission in a lot of ways is just so much more of an intrinsic part of who he is compared to Iron Man, where Iron Man unravels, where you can take the Iron Man out of Tony Stark, you can't take the Killmonger out of Eric Stevens. And like, that just,
Well, if you think about it, he as a character was still forged in darkness. It was just this darkness of him as a child losing his father, and it's just like happened way before. You take that away from him, and who does he become? He may be a totally different Wakandan. Man, his line when he's like, Wakandans always full of surprises, and then just gun to the face on Claw. I was like, oh, that was good. Yep. It was real good.
Saw it coming. I was like, here it comes. He's going to kill him.
How about the one to Tony where he says the difference between you and me is that you can't see the difference between you and me?
That's right.
Oh my God. Like, talk about rip out my arc reactor and show it to me.
Well, and what he's talking about there is like privilege and oppression. And like the fact that Tony is drawing this parallel between them, that he wants to connect with Killmonger, but Killmonger just sees such a gulf between them. But Tony says, Yep, that's us. The orphans, you know, orphans at what I forget even the line he uses, but he just like compares them like, and he's like, no, you don't see the difference.
Yeah.
Ugh.
It's orphans trying to
avenge their dads or something
not
like
one
that.
up their dads, but like live up to their dads. I think that's the feeling I got from it. I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't remember the exact line because I'm an idiot and I'm looking up something else right this second. What this reminds me of, though, spoiler for Bo Burnham's Inside, I guess. One of the songs in Inside had the line from the sock puppet that he had. Where he said, why do you rich white people always insist on seeing every socio-political conflict through the myopic lens of your own self-actualization? Mm-hmm. And it's like, oh shit, that's Tony Stark. He's talking straight to Tony Stark right there. Oh, you're not the same.
All right.
You're not the same. You can't see why.
Should definitely make that TikTok.
There we go. There we go.
It's like Sacco responding to Tony Stark, talking about how they're the same.
Yep. All right, so Matt, you've got your homework for the week.
Yeah.
So I don't know what else to say about this episode other than like it got me right in the feels a lot. Although there were some events in there that, or rather, there were events that happened in the verse that were not or should not have been affected by Tony Stark becoming Iron Man, like Thor coming to Earth, Thor getting sent down into New Mexico and being a hero.
But that was during Iron Man 2, right?
Yeah, that was during the events of Iron Man 2.
Yeah, so at some point that may have happened. It may have happened, and it may have like played out with S.H.I.E.L.D. dealing with this guy in the desert. I mean, that entire movie could happen, and Tony Stark would have never encountered it, and maybe this entire storyline wouldn't have.
Right, but there should still be some amount of, hey, who's this really strong guy with a hammer and great hair that has come down to Earth?
Sure, and the thing is, this is like a 3 or 4 years. I don't know how long this story is supposed to have happened over, but it seems like a while. It seems like they were together a while. They built these suits. Maybe not. Maybe it was all 1 year. I don't know. How long do you guys think this was?
Seeing the army that they built, the army of drones. Like, first thought is like, oh, that takes a minute. That takes a while.
Yeah, that's true. Taking into consideration how young Shuri looked, I'm thinking, it was in the span of like 6 months to a year.
That's a good point. Yeah, Shuri's height is like a good gauge of age.
Shuri's our anchor.
Man. Yeah, so I guess you're right. It's probably pretty short. And I keep thinking that like Iron Man had to build his technology from the ground up because there's no Iron Man, but like he did that with Iron Man pretty quickly. And then if you think about Iron Man 2, where Whiplash builds an army of those, and with that's with Hammer Industries, but I mean Tony Stark has Stark Industries, so yeah, it's totally possible. And this was not him working in his garage alone. This was him still with the force of his entire company behind him, because they're still building weapons. He's still trusting his company with weapons.
Right.
Oh man, that's thinking about that. The press conference that he had,
right,
where he was like, I saw this happening. And his response was not, we need to shut it down so that we can do better and be better people. It was like, no, we needed to go bigger. We need to take this to the top.
He saw Killmonger be such a badass. He's like, okay, if we can like employ every soldier with like this capability. And that's kind of like one of the things I took away from this episode. Like when you hear about What If, one of the most popular What If stories out there that's like canon to the comics, I'll say, is what if Deadpool killed the Marvel Universe? In a lot of ways, this felt like what if Eric Killmonger killed the Marvel Universe? And we're just seeing like the first steps of that.
Yeah, we're seeing the intro to that.
We've seen Hank Pym do it, and now it's Eric Killmonger.
True. We have. Twice now.
Yeah.
That son of a...
I loved that press conference. I thought it was super rad and a weird, like, dark mirror reflection. But I love what you said about it being Killmonger who saved him, and then that's what inspires him, because it's true. But think about who saved him the other time. And this time, instead of like this selfless doctor that only wants to get back to his family, it was Eric Killmonger. So instead of
point.
Yinsen having this impact on him, it's Eric Killmonger having this impact on him. And also, it's him never having to deal with his own mortality. It's him never having to deal with the idea that he like lost in that first encounter with that bomb. He loses. He ends up in a cave. He ends up enslaved. Like, and then he comes out of it totally different because Yinsen has that effect on him. But in this, he's still Tony Stark, never being humbled. And also Eric Killmonger just driving him toward where Eric Killmonger wants to drive him, you know?
Yeah. Watching Killmonger do that, where he's like, he's so conniving, and, you know, I don't trust him, right? I don't trust him because I saw what happened in Black Panther, and I feel this innate distrust of him because of what he's done. But there were times when he was, you know, fighting on the side of Wakanda. I was like, yeah, do the thing. And like, I forgot for like a second or two at a time that he's a bad guy. Yeah. He's so convincing. He's so charismatic. He's so charming.
Yep.
I
want to like him.
I totally agree. There were definitely moments where there's been a popular like fan theory out there that with, you know, the unfortunate passing of Chadwick Boseman as playing the character of T'Challa, that they might find a way to bring Killmonger back in, especially with like the multiverse being the focal point here. And I've always been kind of a naysayer against that because I like more deaths that like actually resonate to like matter in the MCU. But this episode actually opened my eyes to that a little bit. I was like, oh, Michael B. Jordan is just so cool and charismatic as Killmonger. Like I'd definitely be open to seeing him come back in some fashion. And I do have to just call out a couple of his lines. Like I felt like the What I Like Anime was just a shout out to all the animation fans. It's a big crossover. There's got to be so many anime fans out there. So that was just a nice shout out.
I was kind of hoping the drones themselves would look even more anime-ish. Like I feel like they didn't look as anime-ish as his drawing did. I wanted to have those big wings and stuff. I was like, come on, just do it.
They did.
Yeah.
Did they?
Yeah.
The wings weren't as big, but they were still very anime.
They had the tendrils, but the heads were much more like that design that you saw in Iron Man 2 as opposed to the Gundam wing.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, they looked less humanoid, but so did several of the mechs that were in the Gundam series that weren't Gundams.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah, man, never saw Gundam. Pulling out my Gundam nerd.
Yeah.
Like, let me talk to you about Heavy Arms Custom, my favorite of the Gundams.
Jeff going Gundam style.
Oh, well, that obviously pales in comparison to the Epion or the Death Scythe Hell Custom that we see in Endless Waltz. Like, I could go down a rabbit hole, sir.
There's got to be a YouTube parody of Gundam style, right?
Oh,
there has to be.
Gotta be.
I did want to bring up another one of Killmonger's great lines that I felt Michael B. Jordan just delivered like in the same fashion that he did in the film. So when they're talking about after Tony has passed and Pepper kind of alludes to the fact that Killmonger's kind of the primary suspect, he's like, no, it's cool. Her and Tony were tight. And the way he says tight and like looks out of the corner of her eyes at her, and the way it just like cuts, it really reminded me of that line in Black Panther when he meets Ramonda for the first time and he's like, hey, auntie, where it's like he's smiling, but there's so much venom behind it. And Michael B. Jordan's just great at that.
The line that got me in the same way, and this is my favorite line of the episode, is he just got done talking to his uncle about how his son was killed and his father was killed, and they like talk about that, and it's just really like kind of like they make that connection, and it's this like dramatic irony of we know what his goals are, and we know that he knows that this is the man that killed his father, but like but T'Chaka doesn't know that, and he says, if I had a chance to avenge my father, I wouldn't hesitate. It's like,
I thought he was going to kill him right in that second. Very second.
I thought for sure he would kill him before the episode was over, but he didn't.
Yeah. Agreed.
But it feels like season 2 of What If is absolutely going to revisit this verse. And if it doesn't, I'm going to write a series of angry letters. That's all there is to it. There's going to be emails and calls. I'm going to call somebody out. because we have to come back to this. We have to find out what goes down further.
Agreed.
Like, we need Captain Carter, we need to go back to Captain Carter, and we need this. Those are the two requirements.
Yeah.
I'm okay with zombies coming back being a thing, maybe. Sure, but these are the two important ones.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
I would like more zombies personally, but I think this one, zombies and Carter are the ones that I really want to see more of so far. I love the line that T'Challa has after death, and he's like, "This is like his like a threat at him." He's like, "Power gained that way is volatile," and I forget exactly what he says.
Power unearned.
Power unearned is volatile. It will come back to haunt you, either this on your plane or ours. It's like a threat of like what his afterlife will be like if he doesn't shape up. Like,
I kind of feel like it's like, watch, when you die, I'ma beat you.
Totally has that vibe to it.
Because I know I would. I'd be pissed. I'd be so mad.
What did you guys think of Rhodey's line, "Can't clean up the world without getting your hands dirty"?
Oh, God. I feel like this Rhodey is also, like, Rhodey was affected by Tony's time away as much as Tony was.
Yeah.
Almost, maybe less. But I feel like it's as much because this particular version of Rhodey feels, very much affected by Killmonger in that, we have to do the bad things in order to get the good results. Like, that's what Tony thought. That's what Tony was led to believe further once Killmonger got a hold of him. And it felt like Rhodey went right along with that. And I remember watching Infinity War very recently. It was on at the office, and I almost did all of my work from the lunchroom.
Living your best life.
Yeah. Oh my God. Like, took my lunch break for a long time and just sat there watching it.
Or not did all your work from the office.
Yeah, either way. It could 5, 6 one, half a dozen the other. But when Rhodey was talking to General Ross, who also made an appearance in this episode.
Yeah.
He was talking to General Ross in Infinity War and saying, like, you are the one that made Cap a bad guy. Like, if it weren't for those accords, if it weren't for that oversight from the government being put in place and forced on us, then we would all be okay because we'd all be together. And it felt like in that version, like he did, go to that side of like, maybe the government thing and maybe the, big military is a bad idea. Like, it felt like he kind of softened on that. But then in this episode, he didn't. He went straight into, like, gotta get our hands dirty sometimes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I couldn't decide how much I thought that line made a lot of sense, or if it, for his character, or was out of character. And I think it makes sense for Rhodey, especially, like you said, without the changes he's had since Iron Man 1.
Yeah.
I agree. Yeah.
Doctor to concur.
I concur, Doctor.
Alyssa watched this episode with me, and she hasn't watched anything of the what ifs yet. This is her first time.
Oh wow, okay.
And cool. She watched it, and then afterwards said, "I think I hate this show." And I was like, "What do you mean?" And she was like on board the whole time. She's laughing. She's like tense with me, and she's like, "I just want to know what happens next. Is that the end? Is that all we get?" And I was like, I think that means you liked this show.
She feels the way that I do.
Yeah.
I love it, but God, I don't like it.
Yeah. The other thing that was a great moment of realization when she missed the intro, and so she just jumped in right when Tony's in the truck. She missed the Uatu of it all, and so at one point the camera zooms past Uatu looking over the desert,
Oh, yeah.
And she says, she just looks so confused, and she's like, "What's with the giant baby?"
What's with the giant baby?
Cracked me up.
He was an unhappy baby too. Like it looked like there was a point where he was just like, I don't like what I'm watching.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing about like this series and what we've been kind of talking about, how it ties into like how the comics play out too. These what if storylines are often like the darkest outcomes, and that just kind of gives a lot of credence to the films that we see. It kind of raises the stakes even more so, the fact that like these last gambit, like pull the last card out on the last card you have in your sleeve to pull off the wind. It just kind of makes them feel that much more, what's the word I'm looking for, like it just raises the stakes, in the fact that like in all these other verses things go wrong.
It gives it more weight.
Yeah, wait, that's the perfect way to describe it. Thank you. I was struggling for my words there.
Okay. But I'm here for you. Like I said, I got your back.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Well, on the subjects of backs and Owatu, Owatu was looking a lot more fleshed out, and that's a little bit of a segue to Jess Kamai's feedback. We were kind of singing Michael B. Jordan's praises, and she asked, have we talked about how the episode captured Michael B. Jordan's essence and physique very well?
And his back? And his baby got back?
Yeah. Is this a thirst comment?
Yeah, I figure we should acknowledge the animation thirsters out there as well. We've talked about, some of the renders here. Some have been more impressive, some have been less impressive, but I thought Michael B. Jordan's was really good.
Agreed completely, yeah.
Yeah. It felt like it looked right, and there were times where I felt like the animation was a little more than what Michael B. Jordan could probably do, or what Eric Killmonger or Eric Stevens could probably do in a fight, like when he had the spear, or like when he had the Dora Milaje spear, and he was fighting the Tony's bot, like the Tony drone. Droney, if you will. And like he's like sliding all around it and hitting the key points, much like you would on like a larger. God, it reminded me of now that I'm talking about it, it reminds me of The Protector with Tony Jaa, like taking out the tendons to bring down the big guy.
Nice.
So it was like that. And and like he climbs up the thing in like an instant. And I don't know that that's like realistic for where he was, physically at that moment, but like it felt like it fit with the speed and style of the episode. Like stylistically it made sense.
Yeah. They take some animated license with this sometimes.
Right.
True.
And it feels like that in the whole series. There's a bit of animated license being taken, and like you kind of do have to suspend that disbelief just a little bit more than usual. But it's a little bit easier to do that because it's animated, in my opinion.
I agree.
For sure. Yeah. And we talked about Shuri being a little bit shorter. I did notice it looks like Killmonger had less scars, and that kind of talks about, it taking place earlier in the timeline as well.
That tracks.
Maybe killed as many people.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That's neat.
I kind of wish they had shown, because like he had just killed several other people. I kind of wish they had shown like
some fresh ones.
The fresh scarification going on.
Yeah.
But that's just my sadism.
Yeah, I don't think I want to see that.
Some masochism.
He was like, all of these are a kill, and like that's why they call me Killmonger. And like as he kills Tony, he's just like, and does another one, but you don't like it doesn't. You see it from the back, so you don't.
Right.
We don't see him actually cutting himself. Like, why was that? Like in Predator.
Oh yeah.
I'm just referencing every other thing today. It's just it's a reference to the
Peter
world.
Parker right now. It's all good.
I am. I'm Peter Parker all over. I didn't have the same diet that Peter Parker did.
Okay.
I also want to throw a shout out to T'Challa's mom.
Oh yeah.
What a badass.
What a badass. I mean, we've only seen her in her like queenly role, and seeing her like fight alongside the Dora Milaje was just
Well, when T'Chaka turned and said, what do you think, General? And I thought he was looking past her at Okoye, and then it like zooms in on her. I'm like, oh shit, here we go.
Yeah.
And she kept saying for T'Challa, and everybody, E-Bombay, and I'm like, E-Bombay!
E-Bombay.
I'm right there with you.
yeah, the freaking great episode.
hearing Chadwick's voice again, like, God, choked me up all over again. Oh.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyway, I'm sorry. I digress.
There with you, man. Right there with you. Anything else from the chat that you noticed, Scotty?
Yeah, just last one I wanted to hit from Vermilion1. And they say, I know we're expecting season 2 to have continuing storylines, but I'm pretty sure are going to continue in incoming episodes of this season as well. I'm expecting at least Captain Carter to show up again this season, which kind of, we were speculating a little bit about which ones we'll see return and maybe a finale.
Yeah, and there's been, I guess, spoiler alert. We're about done, but spoiler alert in case you don't care about what's in the trailers for the coming rest of the season.
Sure.
But spoiler alert. But in the trailer for the rest of the season, there seems to be some shots of characters that we haven't seen yet, for characters that we've already seen their episodes. So it is very possible we're going to see more from these characters. So,
okay.
Yep. More from these characters and more stories that we have not yet, like more fresh stories, I guess, that we have not yet gotten to see. Because like there was that Gamora with the double-bladed thing from Thanos' sword.
What else are we missing
as part of the Avengers? Like,
really?
There's 4 more episodes. There's 4 more episodes.
Right. But what else are we missing that we don't know about? Because I feel like we even know about the next 3, right? Because I think the first 9 were announced, but I can't even remember what they are, other than that one.
Like the showrunner also said that they're going to revisit Captain Carter next season.
Right.
Yeah. So like we know that that's coming back. We know that that's coming back at least next season.
This season, what do we know is coming? And I can't remember what else from the trailers that hasn't been shown yet.
Well, in the poster, we get we've got Vision looking like or it might be Vision, it might be Ultron, but it looks like he's a knight in shining armor.
One of the things we haven't seen yet, there's like a bunch of Ultrons, right?
Yeah.
Maybe.
I think we saw that. Okay.
But it also looks like he's got all of the Infinity Stones on his chest.
Oh, interesting. Okay. I'm also thinking of that poster we got that was kind of like a spiral where you had like Captain Carter and then you could see Peter with the cloak of levitation in the background. And I think that's where you saw Gamora with the sword. And I feel like you see Black Widow doing something off on the right-hand side, but I don't have it right in front of me right now. And I can't remember what was different about her. That might be another potential.
Spoiler alert, I guess.
Okay.
I received the Collector Core box, the What If Collector Core box a few weeks ago. And one of the pops that I got in that, like one of the pops was the Collector, which is hilarious that I got the Collector in the Collector Core. It's a Collector from episode 2, and one that we haven't seen yet, which was post-apocalyptic Black Widow.
Okay.
Ooh.
Okay.
It specifically says post-apocalyptic Black Widow, and she just looks like Black Widow but dirty. So
Mad Max style.
Yeah, like Mad Max style.
That's cool. What post-apocalypse means. That you need a shower.
That's dust everywhere. Everyone's been dusted.
That's how dramatic my girlfriend is about it anyway. What is happening? You're falling apart, Matt. Look at you. I come home and this post-apocalypse is just laying around my house.
Yep.
Mad Matt. Yeah.
Mad Matt
Fury Alyssa.
Okay, Fury.
Alyssa is Furiosa.
Okay. That is all for us, guys. We got the review contest going on. Check out strandpanda.com/contest to check out that. You can win stuff, but we got to go. So we're going to shut it down there. J. Scotty, tell them about Animation Deliberation real fast.
Yeah, Animation Deliberations, the podcast that takes action animation and cartoons seriously, but not too seriously. So we will be doing weekly deep dives on all these episodes of What If, myself, Zuhair Ali, and another guest Panda. And also we've got Young Justice Season 4 just around the corner, so we're going to do our coverage for Season 3. Stay tuned. That's TOONED. Thanks, guys.
Yeah. More What If coverage, guys. Don't want to miss that. And I guess that's all for us. Peace.
Until next time, true believers.
Thank you for joining us for the Marvel Cinematic Universe podcast, available everywhere you get podcasts, and now a video version streaming live on twitch.tv/strandedpandatv and available at youtube.com/strandedpanda. And if you'd like to learn more about all of our other podcasts, geeky projects, and ways to support the network, visit strandedpanda.com.